Michael. Who's Michael? Yeah, yeah. In 2 minutes.
Such a nice day outside. I know, well, the house after about 10 minutes. Yeah, yeah.
The spring break, I think, almost done, right? Go back to school Monday? So I'm on week only, huh? Mm.
Yeah, I guess it depends on our school district. It starts next week. Not actually this, not this coming week, the following week.
Oh.
Yeah, the 23rd.
Jonathan.
Right, for college, yeah. For college, it's different. Is it just one week?
بص يعني don't know what's going on here. ده الروف نفسه ولا حاجة in between هو not sure. They fix it many times actually. So until Michael come, I'd like to, I mentioned to Bshara minutes ago that next Saturday there will be no class. It will be the ordination of Michael. The week after will be 30th, which is my expectation that there was a retreat scheduled 29, 30, and 31st. So I scheduled at that time servants meeting. Okay, so servants meeting. So it is good coincidence that you can attend with the servants, the meeting with them, and we'll consider it part of the course as well. We'll have 3 lectures, everyone 30 minutes, maybe 2 lectures and 1 open discussion for 30 minutes, okay? So this is put in your calendar. The 30th will be not only servant prep class, it will be servant prep class plus servants meeting, okay? Just second, we'd like to thank Dr. Sameh for his time. He has very busy schedule. You know, he's almost not available weekends, but thankfully he was able to give us 2 weeks this month, and we enjoyed his lecture the week before, and I think we'll continue the same manner, and we are grateful to his time and efforts. Spend time to prepare these slides as well. So thank you, Samah, for being here. If you don't know Samah, can I give a brief about him for 10 minutes? No. Dr. Samah joined us maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, almost 10 years ago. He's coming from Maryland. Is that Maryland, Washington? North Virginia. And he's started working at Ohio State in hematology oncology. It was honor to work with him for a very short time, but he left, and I left after. And he's working now in, I think, private institution for treatment of cancer. Okay, he is one of the pioneers in his field. FYI, this is high, and we are blessed to have him in the church. Thank you, sir.
Use a microphone, yeah, for the streaming. So, I guess I'm lucky I got the easy topics. So I don't, like, theology, tradition are the heavier topics, and I'm happy I have what I have. So we talked last time about diversity at church. We talked about anxiety, and I feel these topics are easy, but at the same time very important in our church for us, in terms of to reflect on how these things apply to us, in terms of how we interact with people, our personality, what works, what doesn't work, and also because we'll need to not only work on ourselves, but guide the people that we teach and the people that we work with, and to help them if they have any challenges, and also help them be more effective members of the church, because like kind of like general health, kind of our emotional health is something that impacts what we do day in and day out. So today it will be actually I combined two, so this was supposed to be 2 talks, and then so I combined actually 3 different talks that I thought kind of covered more or less the same theme. And so today's talk is about focusing on self-esteem. Silly question, very easy question. Do you think self-esteem problems are like very common, somewhat common, or rare? Somewhat common? Okay. To be honest, that's what I would have answered, but at least based on psychology studies, they're very common. Maybe they're not pathological like in most people, but they're common enough that they affect people's quality of life, people's interactions at times. There is like groups that are more at risk for them. So for example, based on some studies that surveyed people, and these are all from psychology journals, so that was like these were legitimate studies, that 75% of girls ages 15 and 17 have avoided an activity because of low self-esteem. So it has it was a part of making a decision about, hey, should I come to church or not? Should I go to Sunday school or not? Should I play soccer? Should I take this elective or not? That low self-esteem was a factor in making those decisions. And maybe later on, should I take this job or not? Should I apply for this promotion or not? So 70%. And you'll see that kind of part of the theme here is that somehow self-esteem problems are more common in girls than guys. I mean, they're common in both, but they're more common in girls. And then of 75% of, again, these studies were done, were surveyed mostly girls, of girls that had low self-esteem problems, engaged in kind of activities such as disordered eating, harming themselves, like bad lifestyle habits, smoking, excessive drinking. So again, this based on observing people with low self-esteem, it has affected many of or several of their interactions with people. Now, looking at adults, one statistic suggested that 2/3 of adults feel that they did not have a significant figure in their lives who believed in them, which contributed to their self-esteem. This is surveying people, so this may not be accurate from a science perspective, but that's what people, how people felt, is that 2/3 of adults figured that maybe if someone was there to guide me, to encourage me, to provide me with affirmation, maybe my self-esteem problems would have been different. You could argue about this statement, whether it's true or not, but that's definitely a perception, people's perception. But I can tell you from reading about it, definitely it is related to the environment, to interact, self-esteem problems, to interaction with people, but it's also genetic. Some people are just born, and you see that in family and friends, that just some kids just have very high self-esteem, and some kids have lower self-esteem than others. Just genetically, they're born with it. And I can tell you from thinking of adults and kids in the family, I think this is true. Yeah, it's part of a I mean, it's not only genetic, definitely. And that's one of the reasons we're talking about it. Environment plays a role, but some people are born with more confidence and more or less more or less confidence and more or less self. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Say it again. I wouldn't say so, but it's something that impacts like our actions. I'd say maybe like I should say I'm not an expert in or don't have the expertise to answer this accurately, but from my understanding from reading about it is that I mean there isn't a disorder called self-esteem, but it can lead to other disorders, kind of like excessive drinking or like or other problems, and even sometimes like harming oneself. Other statistics, these are studies that were done in the UK, that about 1/3 to 1/2 of adolescents struggle with self-esteem. It's, and 50% of individuals in the UK feel like they are not part of a community with no sense of belonging. And then 37% of adolescents in the UK felt upset or ashamed of their body image. That it was like bad enough that their body image was a factor that they were like pretty upset about. And other studies, like suggested this is much more common in girls than guys, but it's actually pretty prevalent in guys. It's not rare. So this is a real issue. I mean, this is something that statistically, if you think about the people that you know at church, if you think about your class at church, if you think about your co-servants, that probably some of us here, have issues with self-esteem. Again, could be genetic, could be environmental. I can tell you my general observation is that now there is more awareness about this kind of in schools, in our day-to-day, interactions. But like when I was growing up, like in my parents' generation, this was not something people thought about. And even especially in our church, we make fun of sometimes older individuals at church, the things that they say, hey Bishara, what's on your face? It looks terrible. Or you may have heard something like that kind of, and so in the past, there wasn't a lot of awareness about it. Now people think and talk about it more, what's appropriate to say and what's not appropriate to say, and how you could encourage and motivate other people. So again, a little bit more about that. This is my last slide of statistics. So, and maybe this partly answers your question, Mamdouh, is that it leads to disorder. So those with low self-esteem are at 4 times higher risk of developing depression, which is a disease. And then those with high self-esteem are at lower risk of developing anxiety, stress, and 125% less likely to develop depression. So it leads to other psychiatric and personality problems. So what is low self-esteem? Just based on how people think, there's something wrong with me. I'm different, why am I different than other people at school? Kind of, this must be me. I don't belong here. I do not like myself. I wish I was different. I do not have what it takes to do this or that. I do not compare well other people. You look at other people and you feel they're always better than you, or kids in Sunday school look at their friends and think that other kids are better than me. And in extreme cases, just I want to hide. I don't want to be there. So these are kind of thoughts that go through minds of people kind of that have low self-esteem. And then in terms of how it manifests in the day-to-day life, it manifests lack of confidence, that you give control to other people. And sometimes, for example, in relationships, this could lead to abuse because you're allowing someone else to control what you do. And between friends, so, you just let other people decide where you're gonna go out, or make decisions about and negative social comparisons, trouble asking for help. You feel that people are gonna judge you for asking for help, and, or excessive worry, doubt, difficulty accepting compliments. You feel that, this is not true, I don't deserve that compliment. Negative self-talk, fear of failure, and not, so as a result of that, not taking risks, not, like I mentioned, applying for promotions or for challenging jobs, poor outlook on the future, lack of boundaries, because people are afraid to draw a line of to establish healthy boundaries, and being extreme people pleaser, because this is a way of kind of gaining affirmation from people. You feel that this is the extreme people-pleasing attitude is is a way of making sure that people don't dislike you. So this is like a cartoon kind of that summarizes that again. A lack of trust, comparing people, thinking you're inferior, and then people-pleasing behavior, and don't feel, and as a result of that, don't feel like you have control of your life. And like I mentioned, in terms of consequences of this, is anxiety, eating disorders, like possibly could lead to panic disorders, risky sexual behavior as a way of just trying to get affirmation, social anxiety, and potentially substance use. So this is, again, a common problem, and a common problem that is potentially serious in terms of one's quality of life, and affects how we deal with other people around us. So I think it's, like I mentioned, it's so common that many of our servants, could suffer from that. Many of our kids could suffer from that. That's why it's good to reflect of do I struggle with this? Yes, no, is there, and do kind of watch the kids with this in mind. Do they struggle with this? Because identifying a kid that struggles with it, like in your Sunday school class, or in a group in the church community, you could be the one that would make a difference between someone who has is well-adjusted in life and someone who is going to continue to struggle with these things. And there is the so-called emotional pendulum. And there is caveats to this, but kind of it's just a very broad way of looking at things, that there is low self-esteem, there is healthy self-esteem, okay? And then the pendulum could overshoot, that there is unhealthy high self-esteem, which is pride, and there is so many meanings to pride, but I think of it as, again, unhealthy self-esteem. So going to the other side of the pendulum, and then we'll talk about applications. What does this mean? What can we do about it? So pride is being selfish, basically consumed with oneself, where when someone, all they see is what's good for me, what's in it for me, what makes me feel good, we talked, for example, about diversity last time, and I think one of the biggest issues with having problems in a diverse setting is pride. That if Mamdouh and I disagree, that I believe that Mamdouh should always follow what I say, because this is how I see things, and that if Michael and I serve together, that things should go my way, and that just any disagreement with me is basically wrong. And so that's kind of part of it is self-love, self-worship, and that feeling that one is higher than other people, and then kind of and that where the focus is not on people, the focus, not an outward focus, the focus is an inward focus. And if I have, if I have that inward focus, it doesn't matter to me what Bishara needs. It's not, like, you know, it's not my problem. It doesn't matter to me if your needs are different than mine. So there is no motivation for me to try to work together to figure out a way where in a church community that your needs are met and my needs are met. So that is pride, where again the focus is myself. And kind of part of the self-talk that goes to this is I can be anything I want to be, doesn't matter what circumstances are, and I deserve more. Regardless of my abilities, I just deserve more, and I do not need anyone else. It's just it's all about me. So it's kind of like the opposite of low self-esteem, but again in an unhealthy way. And kind of features of that in the day-to-day life is, and you could see that sometimes in the kids in Sunday school, or again in co-servants, is rarely ask others anything about others, because, like, you know, so I don't care if like, you know, Bishara, I'll use your name again, if you have an exam, I'm not going to ask you how you did. If something is going on like in your life, like, I'm not going to ask you about it. It's all about me. Dominating conversation and not giving room for other people to be part of a conversation. It's all about what happened to me. People typically would really compliment people because they feel all the compliments should be directed to them. Want to be served rather than serve other people, and as part of that neglect other people. I mean, this is the extreme example. Again, it's a pendulum, so kind of people may fall in any place in this pendulum, may not be that extreme, but kind of these are the two extreme examples of that emotional pendulum. So obviously, what we wish for ourselves and for the people that we serve, that we get to the point of that emotional pendulum, we're in the middle, where we have that healthy self-esteem. I respect myself, so I have self-respect and self-acceptance, meaning that I know I'm not perfect, okay, but I don't hate myself for it. That I know that Mamdouh is better at hymns than I am, okay, and that's great, and I respect that in him, but I don't disrespect myself for it. That someone else may be a more sociable person, may be better able to reach like people and, like, you know, reach out to to kids and connect with them, but I still kind of respect like myself, don't hate myself for it, and that whatever I'm good at, that it's not just about me. It's a gift from God. It's also give other people credit for it. Still kind of have self-respect and acknowledge our strength, but not be self-absorbed. And as a part of that, then we can be determined to do better and go further in life. Okay, because we have the confidence that because of me, because of my abilities that are given from God or from or helped by family or friends, that I can do more. So kind of part of that is the outcome is confidence, is self-confidence, but in a healthy way. Is that it's not that I'm good, but it's not about thinking that I'm just better than other people and I'm in a place where I should be judging other people, but that I have my strength and I have my weaknesses, and and the final outcome is that I'm God, I'm God's son or daughter, and I can go and pursue whatever God has asked me to do. So that's healthy self-esteem. So kind of, so this, in other words, is my life has a purpose, that I think that, okay, there is a purpose that drives my life, and that I can do anything that God enables me to do. I can seek forgiveness for my wrongs. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not be perfect. I belong here. If I'm in charge of something, there is something that kind of that I find very interesting, the so-called imposter syndrome, that like you find, like I see it more in the professional life, where people are in positions and they're like, I really shouldn't be here. I'm not that good. I don't know how I got here. I got lucky, and kind of a Facebook group for like professionals, and actually people talk about that hey, I just got my first job. I really shouldn't be here. I'm very anxious about being here, and they're successful people that did well in life. But then these kind of self-esteem problems start popping up. So knowing that I belong here because God put me here, or God gave me the strength and the wisdom to be here. So and part of that is that I can love and be loved, as part of, again, a self-respecting relationship, a relationship that respects other people, and that it's okay to need others as others need me. So a verse that I liked, kind of that like touched upon this is in Romans, and said that, for I say through the grace given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith. So basically, everything that we have is a measure of faith that was dealt to us by God, and this is the way to think about ourselves and to think about other people. So now, in terms of applying this in our like in Sunday school or in our church. So self-reflect on your attitude now, like that this is, I think it is worth it. Is low self-esteem keeping me from serving God or the congregation? Am I avoiding responsibilities at church because I feel it's just not my place to do that? I'm too young, inexperienced, I just don't have what it takes, it's too hard, it's too many problems, too much headache. Because that could be, even though many of us may feel that, we're fairly confident, but many times there is underlying low self-esteem problems or low self-esteem that controls our decisions. Like another issue is low self-esteem impacting my relationship, because sometimes a manifestation of that is that I'm so sensitive that because I get hurt very easily, because anything pushes the button, anything that I hear or say from other people, any feedback pushes the button of that low self-esteem. So I overreact to this. Is this something that you feel is an issue? I mean, do I accept feedback from other people and think about it and work on it? Because that's a difference between here confidence and low self-esteem, is that feedback does not hurt me because I still believe in myself. I believe in my strengths and weaknesses, and if someone tries to expose a weakness in me, that it doesn't hurt too much, that I can listen and I can work on it. And a manifestation of self-esteem is the extreme sensitivity to feedback. So as servants, it's important to reflect on this. Because this, in our church community, it's a big community, and there is, we need to work with other people, kind of like we talked last time, a very diverse group. So thinking and reflecting about ourselves and how we accept feedback and how we interact with other people will help us in our service, and like I said, would impact how I accept feedback. Do I judge other people? Is my interaction mostly controlled by pride? Do I listen to other people? And do I serve other people to glorify God or to glorify myself? That this is just, do I serve to feed my pride, or do I serve to serve God and glorify God. So now in terms of, this is my last slide, Sunday school. So I think it's very important to keep self-esteem issues in mind when you observe kids and see that are there kids that like you feel are suffering from self-esteem, because again, you may be in our community, I mean, our community is, like we talked, is a very diverse group. There is parents who work 2 or 3 jobs that, and obviously there is also parents who are very involved, but you never know. It may be how you interact with a kid is what's gonna make a big difference, like, or the biggest difference in their lives, because you may be the source of empowerment for them. I mean, maybe not, but maybe, like, in it, so always good to think about, how can I empower kids? How can I build a safe community for the children? What does that mean? It means that sometimes some kids could do much better in a larger group. Can I connect kids with other people, kind of in their age group or with similar interests? That could be the safe community that could empower them. Or it could be the opposite. Maybe someone would benefit from one-on-one, like, kind of like interaction with them. Would it be worthwhile to go out bowling with someone one-on-one, or play tennis or whatever, one-on-one, if someone does not do as well like in a larger group. So it's always good to think for each kid, how can I build a safe community and a safe place for them where they can listen to me, where they feel empowered, where they feel loved. So that's something that is always good, like important to think about. And then part of I skipped that part about things that help people with low self-esteem, is empowering people by teaching them new skills. So I know kids, for example, that were struggling in life with self-esteem problems, and then they found themselves good at like sports or academics or had a certain skill, and this really empowered them and helped them conquer self-esteem problems in all other areas. So could I help teach kids a new skill? I mean, again, that's typically easiest with like sports or any activity that you think about. Could I empower kids to maybe kind of help them academically or at school, kind of like in school sports? Is there something that I can do from that perspective? So these are all things that kind of are important to think about. And one of the biggest things is that if you read the Bible, there is so much empowerment in the Bible for people, because many times when we like low self-esteem, kind of part of it is that people compare themselves. Part of the problem, people compare themselves to others, and then set worldly standards for what they should look like. Okay, and these standards push them down because, okay, I'm not as good looking as my friend at school. I'm not as athletic. I'm not as smart. But if you look at the Bible sets very different standards, and it's very important to direct people to using the Bible as their source for standards for what I should be like, what I should look like, because like you'll find, and kids will find, a lot of peace and a lot of comfort in the, like, if you read like this Sermon on the Mountain, or there is so many other parts that they provide so much empowerment and so much peace that can help heal self-esteem issues. So I hope it's something that we think about, again, for ourselves, for the people that we serve, the people that we are around, for our family members, because, again, it used to be something that is not a focus, but it can really help us become better people, better Christians, and better servants. And glory be to God.
The goal of this lecture is not to diagnose or judge others, okay? Just to understand others, okay? And the first thing you can get application of this one is to examine yourself first, where you are in this scale of the pendulism he talked about. But if you noted that this kid has an issue, then you can think how you can help him, as Sam explained. You can need one-on-one, you can need some activities, and two things can help here. We have different kinds of activities in the church. We have some sport, some hymns, some choral, different activities because it fit different people, okay? Second thing is the curriculum of Sunday school. The Sunday school curriculum talks about different topics, so it should cover a variety of thoughts and ideas which can help with the kids. And that is the importance of having something written, okay? Even in this class, we have curriculum, okay? So we don't come every week and say, what we're going to talk to the kids about. No, we have curriculum, and this curriculum is, we have a goal in mind, and we try to reach this goal through these topics, okay? So this is very interesting topic. So many times we are not looking to the kids other than they are kids. They don't understand, okay? They don't feel, but they understand and they feel and they observe, okay? And they will always say that you are serving the kids not by teaching them lessons, but being a role model to them. They can hear any talks from you, but if you behave wrong, this is the impression will take is what you did, not what you told them. Yourself, if I ask you what the lesson you gave last month, will not remember maybe. Okay, but the kids will not forget. Okay, so it's a very important topic. As Samah mentioned, he talked about diversity, which is a very important topic, and this topic also is very useful to us. Any comments, anything you need to add? Thank you, Samah. Again, I appreciate your help. Amin, Alleluia, Dux Abatrika,